What's going on? This is Dylan with Dylan Talks Tone. Today we're going to talk about the difference between Jaguar pickups, Stratocaster pickups, and Mustang pickups. This is a highly requested video. And of course the dogs next door start barking the minute we start a video. You're just going to have to deal with it because the reason we're out here at night with this very creepy horror movie-like lighting is because we already shot this video today. I promised the internet that I would get this video out tomorrow. I go to edit the video and all the audio is screwed up, so we have to start over. Drink of the night, Michter's bourbon. It's really cold out here. This is how we're staying warm. So let's talk about Strat versus Mustang versus Jaguar. We get a lot of questions about Strat versus Mustang. I actually have a bunch of parts right here that we're going to use to talk about all this stuff. So we talked about Strats the other day, especially when we're dealing with the telly stuff. What you're going to find is a lot of that's going to transfer over, because as we talk about the difference between pickups, don't forget, like the march of history, the telly came first, and then the Strat, and then these other models, so your Jazzmaster and Jaguar and all that stuff. And that's relevant. So let's first of all talk about the Mustang. The Mustang came out in 1962, I think, and in its original form, more or less, went till 1982. This is an interesting one because a lot of people ask me the difference between these pickups. The bobbins, the plates for the bobbins, are identical, absolutely identical to a Strat. In fact, I mean, they're interchangeable, like literally interchangeable. You could use them for one way or the other. The main difference between the two being that when you put this bobbin together, you don't press it all the way down because, you know, like on a Strat, those magnets stick through the holes, right? A little bit. Even the flat ones, not, you know, when they're not staggered, even when they're flat, they stick through the holes on the top of the pickup cover. They do not on a Mustang. So, you know, on a Mustang, you have like a phase switch, or you can have a phase switch. If you were to touch these poles while the thing was out of phase, sometimes a buzz can result. So that's why it has like a covered over, there's no holes with no magnets showing on a Mustang pickup. Here's the weird part though. In doing the research for this video, I mean, I looked at, probably for hours, pictures of vintage Mustang pickups. I was under the impression for many years that they just used a Strat pickup, because all the Mustang pickups that I'd ever seen had the magnets sticking through the top and looked exactly like a Strat pickup. This flat thing, I had no idea where that came from. Looking into it further, well, first of all, before we get onto that, they're wound a little bit different. Where a Strat pickup might have 7,800, 7,900 winds on it, and be, you know, 5.9K, something like that, vintage wind. A Mustang is going to be about 5.5, 5.4K, and is going to be closer in your, I don't know, 73, 7,400 winds. So just a few hundred winds less, but it's enough to make a difference. Now, as far as this whole flat top thing goes, I looked at dozens and dozens and dozens of actual vintage pickups, and all the ones that I'd ever seen looked exactly like a Strat pickup, just wound a little bit less. Same wire, same bobbin, same everything. But then there are a few mixed in there where they're totally flat on top like this. And till this point, even making this video, I cannot find a consistent answer on this. What was the reasoning behind some of them being flat and some of them having the magnets stick out? I went to a bunch of pickup winding expert friends of mine and a bunch of people that know way more about the history of Fender stuff than I do, and everybody's like, no, I've seen them both ways and it doesn't really matter. What the really funny part is if you squeeze down on this a little bit and you make this area from here to here a little bit shorter, allowing those magnets to stick through the top, it can affect the tone and be a little more stratty, but a little less, because, you know, a little less output because there's less winds. So we're talking, you know, 500 winds less than a Strat, and sometimes it has a flat top and sometimes it doesn't. That's the difference between a Strat and a Mustang. Mustang, Duosonic, Music Master, Mustang bass, all had the same pickups. You can hear some argument about that a little bit, but basically they were all the same pickups. You go from year to year, like we discussed in the last video. There's some little inconsistencies with whine counts and stuff. That's just Fender. Don't stress about it. You know, if you're a couple hundred whines off from one versus the other, it happens. It's just part of it. So that's that. So let's talk about the Jaguar pickup, because we know a Strat pickup, right? We know what a Strat pickup is. We discussed that a lot in our last video. Well, here's the weird part. A Strat pickup, which is what we have here, a Mustang pickup, which is what we have here, and a Jaguar pickup, which is what we have here, all use the same top, provided the string spacing, because string spacing has changed for one reason or another, a little bit back and forth, depending on who you ask, etc., etc. Long and short of it is, that top one, as long as the string spacing is the same, is exactly the same top for all three pickups, okay? The difference is, though, the bottom. So this is the bottom of a Jaguar pickup. And if we look like this, you'll see it's the same, but it doesn't have that like tapered part on the back right there. See that? And the reason for that is because the thing that makes a Jag pickup different, the claw, because the base plate fits down in there and the pickup sits in this claw. Now, I saw a lot of funny stuff on some forums on the internets and stuff, and people are like, I just take the claw off of there because blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. So the whole thing, again, this goes back to the design of the guitar itself. Whiskey sip, bourbon sip, I should say. It's got a lot of caramel in it. It's really, really good. Back to the guitars. You got to remember the evolution of the guitars and the reason why, right? So first the Telecaster, then the Strat was kind of an evolution or a so-called improvement. You know, that's the way it was to be marketed, if that makes sense. And then you had the Jazzmaster and the Jag, and they came along and they were real fancy versions of the other guitars. That's kind of like higher end, right? More chrome, sparkly, more stuff on them, different tremolo. But the Mustang, or I apologize, the Jaguar had something very, very different. They wanted that thing to be hotter. They wanted it to be more intense. Problem is that with the Jazzmaster, those pickups that were on it were really kind of noisy. So to get louder, to get more intense, what do they have to do? Instead of putting more windings on the pickup, instead of completely redesigning, you take the same basic design as a Strat pickup and you modify it a little bit to be able to have this claw. What this claw does is this keeps the magnetic field more contained within and closer to the pickup. And what that does is very similar to what it does on a tele pickup. It just makes it more intense. It changes the entire frequency response of the pickup. But if you were to take this off, you would just find probably the mids didn't poke through as much. It just didn't have quite the punch that it did if you took this claw off. So that's what this is. And that was really the point of the entire thing. It was basically to give the guitar more intensity with a very similar design pickup instead of going all the way back to the drawing board. So that's it. Jag, Jazzmaster, Jag, Stratocaster, and Mustang. Pretty cool that most of everything, and again, this goes back to Fender, trying to be as consistent as possible with all of the designs across the board. And you're going to say, yeah, well, Tele and Strat and Jazzmaster and Jag and Mustang are all completely different. But really they're not. The design ethos between the guitars is really, really kind of close. And what they were doing is just trying to, you know, like attract a little bit different markets from here to there. And it worked. It might not have worked in the decade that they created the guitars. Of course, Jags didn't seem to do as good then. But then, you know, you get Kurt Cobain playing one, and it went insane. I tell you what, let's go ahead and go over some viewer comments from a couple of the past videos and answer a quick FAQ. You guys have really been liking, apparently, because of the view counts, really been liking these kind of like comparisons of all these guitar pickups. So what do you want me to do next? I've got the stuff to do P90 and Jazzmaster, which might be kind of cool. We've got the stuff to actually do a humbucker versus like a mini humbucker. So let me know in the comments what you want to see. All right, so let's look at some FAQs. We'll just take a couple here. Sound True says, as a pickup builder, why are you not testing this on situation, on a guitar, like you did with the saddle on Telly? It will be more easy to verify in... Sorry, it's hard to read your writing here, Sound True, but the idea is he's wondering why we don't like do all these comparison tests in different guitars. In fact, we get a lot of kind of more hateful than this comments about why we don't do that. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is I can't afford it. I don't have a guitar that is made just for like cutting up and putting different stuff in. I don't have that. Number two, I'm really more concerned that you go and try this stuff. Like, go to the music store, go to your local guitar shop, and do these comparisons and understand what they sound like from one guitar to the next, and just use it as a learning experience, understanding the technical construction of it, which is what I'm giving you, and then taking it to the store or to, you know, to whatever guitar shop or your buddy's house or whatever, and doing a bunch of comparisons like that. The other thing too is, for some reason, guitar players are the only ones that do this, right? Like, make you like A-B everything down to the tiniest little hair. Like, it drives me insane, actually, that people are so hardcore on this. I mean, I'm from the motorbike industry originally, and nobody will come up to you and say, take a Harley and put a dirt bike engine in it, a sport bike engine in it, a Harley engine in it, and a scooter engine in it, and I want to see what it does with all four engines. Each of these guitars were designed for a particular purpose. The Telly was designed to be an electric guitar that then was also to be an electric bass. The Strat was to be an evolution of the Telly. The Jazzmaster, all along, they all had their reasons for being made. So doing these like A/B test comparisons, it doesn't even make sense. They weren't designed to work interchangeably. I mean, we do it now for modding purposes, but it just doesn't make sense to make a huge deal out of it. Richard says, I'm about to buy a Kemper rack unit. I'm on the fence on powered or non-powered. Any advice, please? Will be used mainly for home recording and home practice. I've had both. I had the power head, and now I have a stage. I don't really miss the power head. Save yourself some dough, and then if you want to go get like a powered cabinet, maybe I'll put a link to one in the comments below that I think is cool for really cheap. Yeah, there's reasons to have a powered one, and I thought I really, really needed one. In fact, if you look at all my earlier videos, it's going to sound like I needed one worse than anything. Never used it. Hardly ever used it. Well, that's that, man. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed this. Like I said, get in the comments and let me know what you think. The whiskey was good. I don't have an affiliate link or anything for Michter's Bourbon, but it kept me warm while making this impromptu video in the middle of the night. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share these videos around. Welcome to all of you, our new subscribers and new watchers of these videos. I really appreciate it. Say hi in the comments, be nice, and we'll see you next time.